Welcome to Tamara's Silly Tales. I'm Tamara and I spill the tea on your favorite reality stars. Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 16. So, this is the final real episode before Decision Day. This episode was the one where everyone talks to a family member or friend for advice on the decision that they've already made, but try to act like they are not sure as to whether or not they're going to say yes or no on Decision Day. So Karen decides that Mark needs to take a fertility test to determine if he has enough swimmers. Now, they are both around the same age. Shouldn't they both be checking out their fertility situation? So he and Karen go into the bedroom to produce a sperm sample. And apparently Karen was trying to help him, but he preferred to watch a sexy movie. And Karen was like, "You'd rather watch a movie than have your wife help you masturbate?" Girl, by now, that's about your 97th red flag when it comes to y'all's sex life. Afterwards, Karen says, "My husband is really dehydrated. His sperm looks like Elmer's glue." Ew, I'll take overshare for 100, Alex. I could have gone the rest of my life without knowing the physical consistency of that man's spunk. Anyway, he seems to be fine in the sperm department, and he says, "Looks like I still got stuff in the tank." Later, Mark meets with his friend to discuss his marriage, and to the confessional cam, he says, "Decision day is just a few days away, and I'm still not sure, so I'm hoping to get some words of wisdom." So he says this week his mom went to the hospital and probably needs to go to a full-time care facility, and they had to clean out her place. So Mark talked about the ups and downs of their marriage and how when they are good, they're really good. And then when they're bad, they're really bad. And his friend said he knows that Mark's looking at the totality of the last 8 weeks, but he should look at the most recent week where Karen really showed up for him, because the most recent weeks show the progress they have made. And he said that Karen was really there for him last week, which was probably one of the toughest in his life. Child, each week with Mark the Shock seems to be more rough than the last. Bed bugs, got booted out of his apartment, lost his job, had to put his cat down. His mom had to go to the hospital. They had to clean out his mom's place and maybe put her into a care facility. I mean, the majority of folks don't have 2 of those things happen in their lifetime, let alone the last 2 months. Mark, you's a little bit of a mess, honey. So Karen met with her friend. Karen says, "You ever date an only child? He's super rigid and doesn't adapt to change well." She explains that Mark is in crisis mode right now, and he's just trying to take everything piece by piece. "Every time I try to express how I feel, he takes it as he's not doing something right. And I'm like, no, this is how you get to know me." Get to know you? Have you heard you? You yelling at him that "you're not showing up for me, run and call your mom, and I'm done" is not simply him needing to get to know you. You do go into attack mode, Missy. So her friend told her to go with her heart and make a list of pros and cons, but don't overthink it. And Karen said, "He's definitely my first husband, but might not be my last." So Mark takes Karen to his grandmother's house for dinner, and he serves sushi and was eating with chopsticks like a champ. Okay. So Mark expresses how grateful he is for all of her support with all of his shenanigans he's got going on in his life, and said the house has never looked this way and feels more like a home. And Karen says, "Give me a weekend and $500. $500 for what? The bathroom lights, the paint, the linoleum, the carpet, remove all that 1970s paneling, curtain, the kitchen." Okay, slow down, Mrs. HGTV. This man is not in a position for a home renovation, especially with you as the leader. Then Mark tries to convince her that they should move into this same place after Decision Day, but Karen wasn't having it. And I'm with Karen on this one. Start in a fresh, neutral place that's in a lot better shape and doesn't have ghosts from Mark the Shock's past. So Noisy talks to her friends about she and Steve's problems, and she said she didn't understand what Steve meant when he said that she didn't really do anything around the house. She thinks that since she didn't vocalize that she did certain things, he didn't realize that she was doing them, so she was trying to be more vocal. Girl, you straight up said that you felt like he should do all the house duties and take care of your dog since he didn't work. When it comes to getting a job, Noisy feels like like he's the type to focus all of his energy on one thing at a time. Like right now, all of his focus is on the marriage, and then later he'll focus on what he wants to do with himself. And she says that while rolling her eyes. So Noisy says she sees herself as a hustler, like she can clean and go to work. Why can't he do that too? Given how they like to edit out important details of this show, I'm not sure if Steve isn't clearly articulating what his overall financial plan is for their future, or if he is, but she doesn't like what she's hearing, because it doesn't make sense that Noisy still has questions 2 months later. So in the meantime, Steve's friend came by to help him pick out a ring for Noisy, and he wants to give her a ring for all of the commitment and hard work she's put into their marriage. Clearly, there was no need for him to discuss any doubts he may be having because he bought her a ring. Looks like he's planning on presenting it to her on decision day maybe. So not only did this segment feel like a commercial for the jeweler he purchased that ring from, but it also felt like a little bit of a spoiler, because to me it showed that he and Noisy have probably already discussed that they're going to say yes on decision day, which made him feel very confident to buy her a ring. So later they have their final date and they talk about life after decision day by rehashing the same conversations they've had all season. And Noisy is still concerned about moving in together after decision day, plus him not having a job. And they go back and forth about it a little bit as he's saying, "Do you even know what a sales engineer is?" "No. It's not like I just went down the street and asked for a job. It took a lot of hard work and I did it for 4 years. "Yeah, but I can only go off of what I see right now." So to the confessional cam, Noisy says that she works hard but doesn't make a lot of money, and since she wants to have 3 kids, she'll need her husband to contribute. Honestly, I believe Noisy wants a role reversal. She wants to not work and wants Steve to provide for her and her 3 imaginary kids. I feel like this conversation was more for us viewers and not them. They just showed him buying her a ring. Clearly, these issues aren't deal breakers for them. They fast forward to their last day before decision day. They were laying in bed reflecting on their 8 weeks, and Noisy asks, "What would you have done differently?" And Steve says, "I would have gotten a job." And they both start laughing, and Noisy says, "No, seriously, what would you have done differently?" And he said, "I would have eaten the pasta. I just would have eaten the pasta." Remember Pastagate? So Noisy asks, "Would you want me to do anything different?" Yeah, Steve says, understanding that we should treat each other equally. Like, she would sometimes snap at him when he would ask her things, and he would have liked to have felt as comfortable asking her for things as she did with him. So to the confessional cam, Noisy was annoyed at that answer, saying that Steve is still counting things and needs to make sure that the transaction is 50-50. And if we stay together and he continues this way, it could be hard for me. So I guess this season is just going to end with me not understanding Noisy, because why is Steve wanting them both to feel comfortable asking for their needs transactional? Steve really seems to love her. I wish they would have showed us why they were in love rather than putting the focus on her high school mean girl antics. Tootie talked to his coach, and he says he's like a father figure, and he's concerned about a conversation he had with Katina where she said that after she finishes business school that she wants to go over to nursing school. And coach said, "Yeah, it's important that you be on the same page." And I do understand Tootie's point about wanting someone who's on the same page with him in their career. She wants to transition from business school to nursing school. Sounds like she might be a little indecisive of what she wants to be when she grows up. It's fair to want someone who's already decided their career path, working in that career and hating what they do like most people. Now, Katina was the only spouse we didn't get to see talk to a friend or family member. I don't know what that was about. Later, they had a dinner date where Tootie met her with a bouquet of roses, and they of course are eating and talking about their feelings about their marriage. So while Katina's talking, Tootie picks up a carafe of wine and drinks it. Excuse me, sir, where's your glass? When it comes to school, he asked her again if she feels capable of doing all her schoolwork and be a wife. She said she wouldn't have signed up for this if she felt she wasn't ready to be a wife and knows that she can balance everything. He proceeds to interrogate her. "Why is being in a relationship important to you? You don't think you can have a partnership without being married? Why do you have feelings for me?" And Katina, in all her bubbliness, takes it in stride and answers his little questions with a smile on her face. He tells Katina that he feels like he's grown by being in a relationship with her and feels like he went from a boy to a man. I mean, these two feel like a perfectly matched dysfunctional couple. Katina always appears to be walking through a landmine when she talks to this man, but somehow they seem to be making it work for them. Later, we see them packing their things, like preparing for decision day, and Tootie asked Katina if she would be sad if she ended up being single tomorrow, and she said she would be sad and hurt, and she asked him if he would be sad, and he said he would be sad, but he would understand that it's part of the process, and then he'd eventually get over it and move on with his life. I mean, he said that so funky, like whatever, you will not be difficult to get over type of way. But he said he thinks it'll be harder on her because she's a female. Dude, the words that come out of your mouth, where is your edit button? To the confessional cam, Katina starts crying, and the producer asks her how she would feel if she got a divorce. And she said it would be hard because that's not what she signed up for, and she put a lot of effort into her marriage. So Tootie advised her to be selfish and make a decision based on what's best for her and not worry about what other people think or base it on the fact that they have fun together, because that's what he's gonna do. Be selfish with his decision. I agree with what Tootie is saying, but I wouldn't have worded it that way. Instead, something like, think about what's best for you and what you want in a husband, which I still don't see what Tootie is committing to be to her. He wants her to be a super mom who cooks, cleans, take care of the kids, and works full time. But after 8 weeks, I haven't seen what he feels like his role is as the man of the house, other than making sure Katina is doing her wifely duties. Picky met with his sisters about decision day, and Picky says that he feels like Jasmina is his friend and that he wants his wife to be his best friend, but not just his best friend. His sisters told him that he needs to think about if he feels it's worth it to say yes and hope that someday something will grow between them, and trust that his needs will eventually be met. Jasmina met with her friend, and she says that she feels more connected, but feelings still aren't there. And her friend asked a good question. He said, do you feel if Picky were more outward with his feelings and affection, would it help you develop feelings? And she said yes, but she thinks he's too much in his head and may be thinking that being more outward would make her uncomfortable. Now, I suspect she's guilty of the same. She's definitely got a wall or two up where intimacy is concerned, so it's up to her to chisel a little hole in that wall so he knows the coast is clear. Now, her friend advised her to tell Picky that expressing his feelings will help her develop more emotions and that she needs to do whatever it takes to see if this relationship could work. She said if she's still not feeling anything on decision day, it's a no for her. Okay, but meantime, decision day is only 4 or 5 days away. I've said this before, I don't think she was ever attracted to him, and I just think she's happy that she can tolerate him now. They took a salsa dance class, and Picky has some moves. He was swaying those hips. I see you, Picky. They sat down to, once again, chat about their marriage. I wish they would have them talk about other things that go on in their lives as well, because these conversations are painfully repetitive. So he says if he could go back, he'd listen to Jasmina more and not try to be the type of husband he thought he should be, but what she needed him to be. He feels like he wasted a lot of time making up narratives in his head about her, and he's learned a lot about himself. And Jasmina said that she appreciated what he said, and that when he's not vocal about his feelings, she feels that she can be sometimes too vocal and raw about her feelings. Now, to me, it's pretty obvious that Picky is starting to catch some feelings for Jasmina, even though it doesn't look like she's grown as much as he has in the last 8 weeks. It feels like, in her mind, she was right all along and is just now happy that he's finally seeing the error in his ways. However, I haven't heard her acknowledge how her being rough and tough with him in the first 6 weeks was probably off-putting to him. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he says yes on decision day and she says no. After hearing about their rooftop conversations all season, they finally show these two chatting on a park bench. And they talk about how similar they are with how they express their emotions. And Karen was saying that Mark always chooses to talk to everybody except me. And Tootie said that he thinks it's because Mark wants to run it by everyone else to make sure he's going to bring it to her correctly, because she's a strong woman and very smart. And if he says it wrong, you'll correct him. Oh, it's funny you say that, because one time he was trying to say something and he said dismay and I said dismiss. Yeah, that's not cute. Everybody doesn't want to be wordsmith when they are trying to express themselves to you. you. Tootie said that when it comes to Katina, she's missing life skills. When they have kids, he expects his wife to be able to cook and clean for them. And Karen said, she's always cooking for you. No, she's learning to cook. And Karen was starting to tell a story about her friend who wanted a woman who would raise their kids and cook and be a stay-at-home mom. And then he quickly corrected her. No, not a stay-at-home wife. She can work. And Karen said, oh, so you want her to work, then work. Thank you for checking him on that, Karen, because it sounds like he wants her to do the cooking, cleaning, parenting, pay half the bills while he works, plans vacation, and goes to the gym. He brought it up again that Katina works from home and has a lot of free time. Now, I wonder if this show is going to cost her job because he keeps saying how she barely works on national television. So he said he's still deciding on whether or not he wants to be a teacher since she can't cook. Hello, sir. Neither can you. For decision day, he said, I need to think about things like if I can't travel this week, that means she can't travel. That's not just with marriage. That's with anyone you're trying to coordinate a vacation with. It's called being flexible. He seems to be very much on the about me train. Mock the Shock and Tootie look like they are the team captains and start picking teammates. So Mark does the right thing and chooses Karen first. And Tootie said, I'm sorry, but I'm keeping this 100. Yo, Steve! And picks Steve before his wife. So they're playing and everyone seems to be having a good time. Then all of a sudden we see Mock the Shock grab the back of his leg and hit the floor. Or as Karen describes it, I see him grab his butt and he goes down like a heavy tree in the woods and I don't think he's getting back up. And Mark says, can we get a doctor? I need a doctor. It was like a whole mess. Karen was doing the most and like grabs his leg and tries to lift it. And Mark's like, stop. And someone comes to check on him. And apparently he had a cramp in his leg and was just really dehydrated. So to the confessional cam, Mark says, I had a wicked cramp in my leg. My hammy ripping. Can we get a doctor? Some IVs over here? Where's Matt Damon when you need him? Can someone explain the Matt Damon reference? Because I didn't get it. Like, is he talking about his Bourne character? I don't know. Afterwards, they gather in a circle and guess what they talk about? Where each one of them are in their relationships and how they feel going into decision day. Listening to them talk was like deja vu because this entire episode was about how they felt about their relationships and how they felt about going into decision day. So in the end, they all reflected on their journey again and what a big decision they have to make tomorrow. They're all talking as if they don't know what their decision is going to be. There are some seasons where I actually believe one or two waited until the day before to make their final decision, but I don't believe for 1 second that each person in this particular season doesn't know what their decision is going to be. Goodness, just say yes or no already so we can move on to the next season, please.